I was born into a Christian home. I grew up in a Christian home, in church every Sunday type thing. And my parents are really great Christian people. And I always was really jealous of that growing up. I never felt that connection with Jesus. And I always knew there was something missing. I guess to compensate for that, I became this perfect Christian, and I was always trying to do the right thing, but for the wrong reasons. And so I grew up as the goody two-shoes in my class, always listening to the teacher, always doing what I'm supposed to do. And I identified with that a lot. Rules were more important than the relationship. And how other Christians saw you were more important than what your heart was like. Meanwhile, the whole time I was doubting my salvation. I was doubting if there really was a God. And then when I got into high school, I struggled with depression a lot. And I was like, there can't be a God, because if a good God exists, why am I struggling with this? Why am I so sad all the time? I was like, I thought Christians were supposed to be happy, and I have no joy. So it was hard, because I was just trying to be perfect for everybody else, like I said, trying to be this perfect Christian when I wasn't. And it was hard, having to go to bed every night and know that I was living a lie. I figured that if I was living this life of I pray, I go to church, I'm a good Christian, then that would mean that I was. When I went to college, I was on my own, so I started doing whatever I wanted to do. So I got involved in a lot of sin, and I lost myself because I had lost that identity that I had as the good girl and the good Christian, and I wasn't that person anymore. I transferred to ECU after my freshman year, and it got better because I was out of the environment to where I was involved in all that sin, but I still I wasn't a Christian, and I wasn't loving God, and I was putting on this facade of being a good person when I just wasn't, because I was lost. I met someone that went to Integrity through a club that I was in. And I went a couple times last year, and I really liked it, but I was like, these people can't be this happy all the time. I was like, no one is this happy all the time. No one loves God this much. Because I was still doubting if God even existed. So this year, one Sunday I woke up and I was like, okay, I'm going to make my mom happy, and I'm going to go to church. So I came to church, and I remember that Sunday I was standing there, we were singing, and I was fighting the Holy Spirit a lot, because I didn't want to change. I didn't want to have to go back on everything I had done and say that was wrong and that I needed to become a different person. Be Thou My Vision has always been my favorite hymn. Even when I was struggling to believe it, knowing that there was somebody that loved me unconditionally and could be my vision for me and help me through those times was something that I would cling to. When we started singing Be Thou My Vision, I was like, if he cared so much just to put that, have you orchestrate that song and put it in the sermon or in the service, to where I would just be my whole life I've been loved and I didn't even know it. And it was just this unconditional, perfect love that I'd never experienced, and that was always there, and he was just waiting for me to come home. And so I looked back on my life, just sitting there, and I was like, I had to go through these things to get to this point in my life, to where I could soften my heart, and to where I could come to Jesus, and to where I could be found and be loved. I guess in that moment I just had to humble myself like Jesus did. And so I did. And I started crying because immediately I just felt the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders, literally, because I wasn't that person anymore, and I didn't have to put on a facade anymore. I could just be me and who he created me to be. I mean, I was trying to be this perfect person, but I didn't need to be, because he had already died, and he had risen again. He had taken that punishment for me so that I didn't have to try to live a perfect life, so that I could just live my life for him, because he took the punishment for me. I just felt myself change. And I felt my heart soften. And I knew that this is where I was supposed to be and that I was here for a reason. And everything made sense. And so it was only a few weeks ago, but I rededicated my life to Christ. Or actually, I dedicated to him for the first time, I guess. I want to get baptized today because I want to leave all that in the past. And I'm thankful for what I went through because it ultimately led me to Christ. But I don't want to go back to that. I write songs, and so like a while ago I wrote a song, and it was something like, I fail at times, and I feel I've let you down, but then I realize that I never held you up. So like, God is always the one holding me up. I can't let him down. He knows what I'm going to do. He knows how I'm going to act, but he loves me in spite of it. And regardless, because he's already paid that price. I mean, it doesn't mean I should like run around and like do whatever I want, but like, but that's why I should devote my life to him, is because he did pay that price and he does love me.